Okay, children, we'll continue from the fourth point, regeneration, which is an act of repair, replacement, and renewal of the lost parts. Now, before we go further to the types of regeneration, which are epimorphosis or reparative regeneration, and the second type is morphollaxis or restorative regeneration. First, I'd like to show you a diagram to understand this. This is regeneration in hydra. Now, as you see, one single individual hydra has been cut in three parts, starting from the base 1, 2 and 3. Now, if we talk of the pieces, this minor portion, the bottom one, the middle, which is again a minor portion, and a little major on the other side is with the tentacles, right? Now, you can see there are two things. First, all three pieces are growing into three new hydra, 1, 2 and 3. But the difference is when a small portion is regenerating the major part. See, this one is regenerating the bottom and the top piece, right? So it's like a great portion to be made up, right? So this type of regeneration, when a small piece has to make up the great part for regeneration, this is called as morphollaxis or restorative regeneration. That is, the whole body has to form from a broken part. Example, hydra, planaria and flatworm, which also includes another example, that is starfish, which is an echinoderm. But suppose the other case, reparative or epimorphosis. Now this, as the name tells you, is the repairing type of regeneration. For example, a lizard. A lizard, in many cases, to escape the enemy, loses the tail. Now in this case, the tail that is broken is repaired. So as you see, the major part of the lizard is very much as it is, but the tail only has to repair. So this is reparative regeneration or epimorphosis, that is making up of small portion as regeneration. But the other case, as I showed you in the diagram, morphollaxis means a small portion has to make up or regenerate the greater part of the body, right? Coming back to the epimorphosis, the other example if we talk about is liver also in humans. A damaged liver, a portion can be regenerated. So that comes under reparative regeneration. And third again could be could be starfish, which can repair the lost arm. The last method, that is the fifth method, if we talk about in counting, first was fission, second was budding, third was fragmentation, fourth was regeneration, and the fifth was sporulation or spore formation. Starting with sporulation or spore formation. What is sporulation? The process of formation of spores by the process of multiple fission is called sporulation. This especially goes on during the asexual reproduction, and it is also important for maintaining the survival under unfavorable conditions, right? Example, algae, fungi, bryophytes, pteridophytes and protozoans. So what is sporulation? You should have understood that this is the formation of spores by asexual method, that is by multiple fission, right? Where many spores will be formed, and this is also means to survive under unfavorable condition apart from being a asexual method. Now there are many types of spores that are formed. Basically there are 6 types of spores that are formed, and herein, if you can read this, zoospores, number 1, sporangiospores, conidia, chlamydospores, oidea, also called arthrospores, and conidiosporangia. Once again, zoospores, sporangiospores, conidia, chlamydospores, oidea, also called as arthrospores, and conidiosporangia. Now in this case, if we talk about the type along with the examples, the same names I have written in a horizontal manner. right? And written certain key points. What do we understand by zoospores? The basic characteristic is that they are flagellate. Flagellate means they have a flagella and thus they become motile, or they can move, swim around, right? Example, Chlamydomonas and Phytophthora. Chlamydomonas, if you can see, this is an alga written in bracket, and Phytophthora is a fungus. These zoospores are also called as naked spores. Why? Because they are without any resistant covering. So I'll just show you how the zoospores look like. See this. Zoospores. This is a sporangium in a fungus called Pythium. If you can see, they are kidney shaped with a nucleus, and they can have a motility very easily managed because of these flagella. So that is why what makes them motile. Alright. Coming to the second type, also called as endospores or sporangiospores. Now they are very commonly seen in the rhizopus or the bread mold, what we call, and mucor. Another characteristic is that they are dispersed by wind, and whenever they germinate into a mycelium, or what we call in plural as mycelia. Alright. So how it is that endospores or sporangiospores are different from zoospores? Basic is these were motile because they had flagella, but sporangiospores are totally non-motile because they are not having any flagella for swimming. Alright. Coming to the picture of this sporangiospores. These are sporangiospores. You can see they do not have any flagella, so they won't be able to swim around. Then, third one, Conidia. Conidia, now there are 2 or 3 characteristics what make them important. They are non-motile, fungal spores formed at the tip of conidiophores, and just very similar to the previous one, they are also dispersed by wind, but when they germinate, right, they will germinate by giving out germ tubes. Example, the penicillium fungus and also aspergillus. So I'll just show you the difference in shape also. Please see this. Conidia.